Hi, I'm Ishan,
I'm Ed.
and this is the Underqualified podcast where we talk about business casually. Today, we talked about a few things. We talked about a bunch of teenagers that ended up stealing tens of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin from a billionaire, and they bought cars and watches and balled out until they got cracked down by the law and ended up some crazy shit happened when they went to prison. And then we talked about SpaceX becoming one of the biggest companies in the world. We talk about Hermes bags, and we talked about some Harvard dropouts taking on Nvidia and other things.
Hello, everybody in July 2024.
Yes, it's definitely still July 2024 when you're watching this. Today, we got some topics. I have a story that's really interesting. I had some mutual friends when I was like in high school and / university that ended up stealing $100 million worth of Bitcoin. And they were probably like some of the richest kids in the world, just doing dumb shit, buying cars and watches.
Iced out APs.
Yeah, iced out APs. And this story is just starting to get traction again after many years because there were some court cases and stuff. And yeah, I want to tell that story. And then we've got some news items about SpaceX and A24 if you're a film nerd. We got some stuff that we'll cover all today. We've never done that type of intro, but I guess
it kind of worked.
Yeah, low-key worked. So I want to give a shout out to Pastry ETH on Twitter for like surmising all of this. I'm going to be reading some points from his thread. You know what? I might link it in the description to give him his cred. But basically, he headlined it as $24 million luxury watches and the largest swim swap hack ever. Do you know what SIM swapping is?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to explain it?
Like, I think I only know the American term because this was done in Australia, right?
No, this was in America.
Okay.
America.
Well, yeah, I think if I were to start SIM swapping today, I guess, a phishing attack on someone's email or something to get, or you can buy the data as well, but email, phone number, anything like that, maybe a social security number, passport number, license ID number, and then you go to Vodafone, Telstra, AT&T, any your mobile phone providers, and say, I pretend to be Ishan. I know that Ishan's got money on his crypto wallet somewhere.
Yeah.
So I go to AT&T at support and say, hey, I'm Ishan. I lost my phone. I need to I need to get a new SIM, blah, blah, blah. Give them the details, and it's enough details for them to be like, yep, this is Ishan. It's his date of birth. It's his social security, whatever. And then they effectively transfer Ishan's phone number to your new SIM, and then you have Ishan's phone on your phone.
Access to emails and 2FA.
And then as soon as you do that, you can just type in like ishanhaque@gmail.com, and then forgot password, do two-factor authentication. The text shows up on your phone, not his phone.
Yeah.
And then you can just effectively search his passwords. You look for a passwords folder in his email. You look for a Coinbase verification.
Maybe it's in your Dropbox or Google Drive. And this happens quite a lot. This is why like 2FA and stuff is very important. And sometimes in SIM swapping, you'll actually have like a rogue employee at a mobile carrier.
Yeah.
So like a AT&T or something that's you don't have to convince them. You don't have to do social engineering to try and convince them that you're this person. You just like kind of
get $5,000.
You've got a buddy.
Yeah,
you've got a buddy and you go like, I know this guy that has a lot of crypto or is really rich. If you help me get access to his, because you work at an AT&T or a Telstra or something, if you help me get access into swapping over his phone number to me, I'll give you a cut.
And quite a lot of the biggest hacks, not to jump off your story, but quite a lot of the biggest hacks are from physical employees that have been corrupted in some way, whether it's blackmail or bribery or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like there was a huge community, in the early 2000s of people who posted MP3s of up and coming albums onto hacker forums. And their way of doing it was paying the guy whose job it was to dispose of any broken CDs at the CD factory. They would pay him to burn one and upload it for them. And then that was it. There was no kind of crazy technological DDoS fucking, cracking the code shit. It was just having an employee that did it for you.
Yeah. A lot of these, or especially the story I'm going to talk about, yeah, these aren't sophisticated hackers. They're really good at like social engineering and getting people to convince or convincing someone of something and then getting access as a result of that. So the story that I'm talking about today, these they were like teenage gamers that ended up becoming like the most wanted cyber criminals in the world. So this story begins with a kid named Ellis Pinksy, and he was 13. He loved video games, and he basically, one night he was playing games online and the trash talking got a bit too much. And I don't know, did you ever trash talk online?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like every gamer kind of goes through this. Someone kills you enough times and you're going, oh, you fucking idiot. I'm going to fuck your mom or whatever. Like that stuff kind of happens. But this time it got way too far one night for Ellis. After a match that he played, I think Call of Duty or something like that, this player messaged him saying, how's the weather in Ivington? Basically where he was living in.
Yeah.
And so that's when Ellis was like, his heart sank. He was like, how the fuck did this person know where I lived? And so he just, turned off the game and he kind of started thinking like, wow, if this guy found out where I lived, I can find out where he lives or where someone else lives. And that's how he got introduced to, I guess, hacking. And what happens when you start looking at internet forums and hacking, and this is like, I don't know what year it is, but maybe early 2010s around there, he came across Bitcoin and what Bitcoin was, because that's where all the early adopters of Bitcoin were, all these like grimy hackers. And so he got introduced to Bitcoin at that point, and he started, buying a little bit and learning how to mine it. And he started learning, having these like online mentors on how to, I guess, hack other people. And he started getting really good at it. So he learned about, I don't want to get too technical, but he learned about like SQL injections. And because of that, there was some, he got really good at that, where he was like, all right, now let me learn how to SIM swap. And we already explained what SIM swapping is. And so after this whole sort of course of finding out how to SIM swap and hack and do all this stuff, he started becoming friends with people that worked at Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, trying to hunt for, because it's a lot easier to not have the risk of trying to social engineer someone to believe that it's a lot easier just to have someone on the inside. And do that. And so I think about 2018 is when he met someone online on one of these internet hacking forums that worked at AT&T. And it was like the perfect storm. So he said, he found this person and then he messaged him on a forum saying, hey man, can you hack an AT&T phone? I have a target I think is good. And so this wasn't your ordinary target. This was a guy named Michael Turpin. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, he
very wealthy man.
And very bullish on crypto.
Very bullish on crypto. He actually founded Match.com.
Wow.
So
he's older now, right? He's
like he's a much 50s? I don't know how old he is now, but he's a much older person. But this was a great target because he was older. Everyone knew he held a lot of crypto because he was a wealthy guy and always talked about Bitcoin at this point. And so this Ellis and this AT&T worker named Harry, they were like, all right, we've got a target. I work at AT&T. You know how to coordinate this attack. Let's do it. And so about January 7th, 2018, they executed this right when Turpin was known to be attending a crypto conference, and it was in Vegas. And so Harry, the rogue AT&T employee, he facilitated the swim swap, and the two were in. And when I say in, access to emails immediately, they reset his email password. And then Ellis, the main protagonist in the story, he had a script that was ready, because sometimes you have limited time before Turpin knows.
Because he might get a verification.
He might get some verification code, blah, blah, blah. And so he had a script ready where when you execute the script, it goes through thousands of emails and searches for anything that may look like a password or anything with the subject line password or blah, blah, blah. And so, it scanned for any references to links to crypto exchanges and things like that, until there was an email. Literally, the subject title was called keys.
Yeah.
And that's when there's like messages in the lawsuit that you can read about this lawsuit, where they literally message each other saying, "Holy shit!" They opened that file and it was a bunch of keys with access that unlocked a crypto wallet that had $24 million inside. And remember, they're teenagers. They're like 17, 18 years old. And so they were like, we just fucking, we hit the jackpot. And so they did this. They stole the money. Because there was so many different crypto wallets and there was they had limited time, they looped in another guy, and this is going to be important for the story, a guy named Nicholas Truguglia, another sort of fellow sim swapper. And he was like, when you do a heist, you're like, oh, here's a third of the money, whatever. They had a split that they agreed on. But Nick wasn't very compliant in this split. In exchange for like the services that Nick was providing and helping them, Ellis was sending him like 500K of this 24 mil, 500K, 1 mil to try and get more money out of this Turpin guy. But then Nick had different plans and he just ended up taking the entire money himself. So he started locking out these people, the main guy, the protagonist, from this 24 million, because they all had access to it. And so this Nick guy was kind of interesting. This is the person that I was sort of mutual friends with and knew of. When this happened, I was following, Nick and a few other guys on socials, and they would post.
They all had really good @s on Instagram. That was the thing I remember. Like the guy that was just 0 on Instagram.
Yeah,
and then because they all had it from what's that iconic like Instagram account, ogus.com.
Right, they would sell.
And they'd buy instead. So they would sim swap Ed. People with they'd sim swap the guy with @Ed and steal his Instagram username for him, then go and sell it.
Yeah.
And I remember, like the Nick dude, they all had like epic Instagram usernames.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's how you can tell like someone's like an OG like internet user type thing. Anyway, so like I would see stories of, millions of like withdrawing millions of dollars from a Wells Fargo account, or like
they always do the like pouring Dom Perignon on an ice
like
AP.
They had iced out APs, and I just put a deposit for a McLaren, and these guys are like my age. They were like 18, 19 years old. I'm thinking like, holy fuck, how are they running it up so fast? And at the time, I didn't know that they were Sims. I just thought they were like, all right, I bought some crypto stuff, and it's going up. And as part of the discovery for this court case, because obviously Turpin wasn't going to just sit idle and let people steal his money, he ended up suing both Nick and Ellis, the two main hackers. But a part of the court case, there was an iMessage that they found from Nick where he texted his buddy when this happened. He was like, he said, "Today my life changed forever. I'm a millionaire. I'm not kidding. I have 100 Bitcoin." And immediately, I don't know if this was a part of the case or not, but apparently he was like 18, 19 years old. He started hiring escorts, and he bought them tickets to the Super Bowl. And this guy was just balling out how you think like an 18, 19-year-old would, right?
Yeah, with 100 Bitcoin.
With 100 Bitcoin. And so, 2019. So that all happened in 2018 where they stole all the money and they started balling out, playing with it. Then the law kind of catches up to them. In 2019, Turpin's lawyers, they submitted a civil suit under the RICO Act.
Because there was a whistleblower, right?
I believe there
Turpin
was.
got a message. Like he I remember like not too much about the story, but I think he was very vocal and like did lots of PR about how the money had been stolen from him. And then he got an anonymous message from one of the guys in like the little hacker forum things who was like, yeah, I know it was this guy in, Irving, New York, blah, blah,
these
blah.
guys these guys were being public about the money they stole and stuff. Yeah. So you're going to get some people that are jealous or like, hey, what's going on? And so, so Turpin's lawyers and his family got a sort of tip, and there were like $24 million got stolen from us. But Turpin's a successful crypto investor. In this amount of time that he didn't have this money, he could have made X amount. And so the number that they've ordered the two kids to pay back for stealing the money was $72 million, they said, worth in restitution to Turpin. So 3x times the hacked amount they had to sort of.
Oh, you know what got them? I just remembered. This guy in Nick's building in New York, he was balling out, had some fucking New York crazy apartment. A guy in his building who he'd run into ran a private jet chartering business, And
That's right.
And
Yeah.
then the private jet charter guy was like, "Who the fuck is this 18-year-old being like, yeah, I've got $100,000 for a PJ. Like, let's set it up this weekend." But and the guy was like, "Okay, I guess." And then I think the private jet guy slowly worked out that Nick had got it from some kind of like he mentioned like, "Oh, I got it really quickly and got off this guy and blah blah blah." And then the private jet guy, I believe, recorded a conversation with Nick, and then that's what was the kind of first bit of evidence.
Right. And there was also this thing where after they've been caught, Turpin's lawyers couldn't get in contact with Ellis, and so they emailed his mum.
Yeah.
And like, which is just like such a funny thing. Like this, you forget like this was a kid.
Yeah.
And so
He couldn't even drink.
So like, yeah, apparently they sent over like this, damning letter to his mum to, like your son. I'll read it out here, just the first sentence. I hope this message finds you well. My name is Robert Salone, and I am the legal representative for Mr. Michael Turpin, a respected cryptocurrency investor. I am writing to inform you of a very serious matter involving your son, Ellis. So it's just kind of funny. And anyway, Ellis was like, Nick was kind of crazy and out there, and he's like, yeah, fuck this. Like, I'm balling out, blah, blah, blah. I'm not giving back the money, blah, blah, blah. Ellis was more like, just like a nerdy, crypto kid that happened to just kind of go down the wrong path. And, so Ellis actually returned what he stole in full when he got caught, which was 562 Bitcoin. Let's just quickly do the math on how much that is right now in USD. That's a big number. That's $34.6 million that he returned. So he returned 562 Bitcoins, a Patek watch, and $100K in cash he had under his bed.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the end. When Ellis returned that money, the value of that Bitcoin, like right now it's 34.6 million. But back then when he returned it, the value was $2 million because crypto went all the way down and blah, blah, blah. And so at this time when they were requesting to pay the USD amount that he stole.
Because he stole Bitcoin.
He stole Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But lawyers are trying to get, any penny that they can. And anyway, so the lawyers were kind of urging for this, like, hey, return us the full USD amount. Like, it's not this fucking Bitcoin that's not worth as much anymore. This started going public in terms of the court case, and it was on the news and whatnot. Literally 2 weeks after the story went public, 4 masked men broke into Ellis's house. And they were trying to like find all this like Bitcoin and money and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, they didn't really have anything. And I think Ellis knew that they were in danger because apparently he bought a shotgun as this sort of went out there. And yeah, so that was like pretty crazy. And so we fast forward a bit. By the way, like no one was harmed in that situation. They broke in, they couldn't find anything. And apparently like he had the shotgun pointed at them at the top of the stairs. Whoa. And then they kind of just ran. So yeah, nothing really happened there, but with the lawsuit, things kind of dragged out for a while, and eventually Nicholas, the crazy baller one that wasn't paying back the money, he pleaded guilty to several counts of wire fraud, and he was sentenced 18 months to prison, and he was ordered to pay 20 million, I think of the total 72 million. Like that was his sort of portion. And so apparently, and I'm just reading this now, I'm just finding this out now, he finished his sentence in 2023, but then he was arrested again for civil contempt after he said he did not have access to the funds to pay for the restitution, and that he could be held indefinitely until it's paid off.
What? How does that work?
I don't
like
know.
if he has to, how's he going to make $72 million in prison?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of number plates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I'm not too sure what happens there. And then as for Ellis, he was too young at the time this happened to even go to serve any time. So then he was just ordered to pay 22 million of the 72 on top of what he's already returned. And he's currently apparently just like a nerdy, quirky kid studying computer science at NYU, and he's studying philosophy as well. And he has like a little jobs page where he talks about, like, he's using like the sparkle emoji. He's just like a normal kid who like kind of fucked up. It seems like
he fucked up in a really big way.
But Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that this was like a very interesting story where like, you know, the value of the Bitcoin they stole at the time was 24 million, and now in today's Bitcoin it's about 100 million. So they stole a bunch of money, and this wasn't in this thread, but I remember hearing that like they were at a club one night, and you know how like especially American clubs, like it is very hierarchical, like, you know,
Booze,
bottle service
bottle
and
service,
all that sort of stuff.
The name on the sign.
The name on the sign, the lines outside, exclusive
Have
clubs.
you had your name on the sign?
I've had my name on a sign before, but not on the, it was
Not that night.
not that night. That's obviously like every crypto kid that makes money, they do
Yeah.
that stupid shit. I haven't done it in years now. Yeah, so anyway, like apparently they were like at a nightclub one night, and, you know, very exclusive, but they have all this money, so that they got in, and there's like multiple floors, and on the top floors are where only the VIP people are. And this was actually in the court case that one of the guys that went out that night was like, Nick told me, he whispered in my ear, he's like, man, fuck this, I have more money than everyone in here tonight. And it's like, you know, there's executives and Fortune 500 CEOs and like, and you know, he was really hung strong. Like he was like, you know, I have more money than God at this point. Like he was like so.
It's like, man, you've got like 10 mil.
Well, you know, at this point he had like tens of millions of dollars, whatever. As a 19,
And he was probably like, I can do that again. I can sim swap again.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think maybe something like that. But like just to show you guys like how the like ridiculousness of the situation. But look, this is what happens. The law catches up.
It really does.
and-
At any point, it'll always catch up, unless you flee to like Costa Rica or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I urge everyone to sort of do your own research into this story if you're
There's a really good
interested.
video by.
I might have butchered a lot of
There's
details,
bunch,
but yeah.
There's a bunch of videos and stuff, a lot of stories. I'm seeing here that Turpin also sued AT&T for gross negligence.
Yeah.
Right.
He went
because
ham.
It was a contractor basically that gave away his information. So it was like, you should have been supervising contractors that have access to my information. Sued them for 240 million.
Did he win?
He was not successful.
Yeah. But regardless, yeah, like we know a lot of like crypto people that have made a lot of money and not illegally.
Not illegal.
But like you can see when you're that young and you have access to that much money that you do shit like this.
Yeah.
Like you buy the watches, you buy the cars, you fucking, you know.
I wonder if they took 500 grand if he would have noticed.
Yeah, maybe the moral of the story is steal, but don't steal too much.
Like steal and just steal a little bit every day.
yeah,
you know?
just a
I
little
don't
bit.
think that's the moral of this story.
That's the moral of the story. Just don't steal enough to get caught.
It's work hard, learn the actual value of money so you don't think you've got more money than God,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't go to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like to be honest, at this point I've met so many young people like a Nick that like I read the story and I'm like, oh yeah, I've met like fucking dozen of these kids that make like millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars, and like they spend like this and they act like this. But this one, I took a kind of step back and I'm like, you know what, this is actually kind of crazy story. Like they should make like a movie or like a Netflix series based on like kids sim swapping and, you know, getting really wealthy.
I
and stuff.
love the SimSwap stories. There's a couple of like those really famous ones. So it was that like fat guy that looked like a bit of a slug. I forgot his name,
I
but
don't
same
remember.
thing. I think he was OX on Instagram, 0x or something.
Yeah, okay.
Exact same story. And they
Yeah.
all, for some reason, they all do the exact same shit. It's always the iced out APs. It's always the Lambos. It's always the champagne. Always the bottle service. Why don't any of them do something? It's not even a different watch. It's always the same watch.
I think a lot of these kids that make this money, they just don't have like the right people around them. / like they maybe don't have like a, not father figure, but like they don't have like the right mentor or older people that have, or like they just don't have much life experience. It's like all that money. There's so many more productive, or not productive, but there's so many more things that you could do that's like tasteful.
Yeah.
Than like
What's like because sim swapping felt like it was really popular in like 2016 to 2020.
I think there was a period where like these carriers didn't have enough
security
and information about like that this was really a thing, and people were getting more sophisticated on how to do it in different ways. I think at this point, I don't really think it's still
like
don't
I'm not
sim swap
tapped
me.
into hacking communities, but like what are those guys doing now to like what illegal hacking stuff is it at the moment? Like what's the meta?
Tell us if you're a hacker. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Don't hack us.
Very interested.
Like we don't. I don't
The
have any
worst
money.
nothing
The
in a
worst
crypto
thing to
wallet,
say
so-
in the world is to a hacker, don't hack me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, neither of us have money.
Yeah. I don't have any money. Don't do
But
it.
they'll find out.
yeah.
They
They'll
already
just
know.
screenshot your bank account, Ishan, and everyone can laugh at you.
But yeah, I don't know. That was a cool story. Do we want to go through some
Let's
like
smash out those
some news headlines?
hot headlines.
This week. I thought it was pretty interesting. SpaceX is now worth $210 billion. It is now the largest private company in America. So it's surpassed Disney. It surpassed, I don't know, some fucking bank or whatever. Like, it's pretty big now. And I think
Hang
it
on,
will
and
go public very soon.
Coca-Cola, as we found out in the episode with Christian, is worth 290 billion US.
Yeah. So SpaceX is almost as
What the
worth as much
fuck?
as a Coca-Cola, but Coca-Cola has been up and around since the 1800s, apparently.
How much is Tesla worth?
1900s. Tesla is like more like $1 trillion or something like that, or like $500 billion at this point.
Whoa, so Elon's almost at $1 trillion market cap between all of his.
He was. I mean, Tesla was at $1 trillion at one point. So like, yeah.
Jesus Christ, it's a lot of money. That's a
So
disgusting.
Tesla's at 600 billion market cap,
You add in Boring Company, you add in SpaceX, he's probably at $1 trillion.
which is just insane. SpaceX will go public soon. But yeah, $200 billion valuation. I think that's insane. I think it's a lot of that growth is because of Starlink, which is like the internet service provider that.
So is that bundled in with SpaceX?
That's bundled in
Okay.
with SpaceX. And so that's gone crazy.
That's a cool
where,
idea.
yeah, like you're giving internet access to, or in places where previously you wouldn't get
Yeah.
sort of high speed internet. This is a stupid example, but like a lot of billionaires are installing Starlink on their jets.
Yeah.
So they can have high speed internet on their jets.
And yachts.
Yeah, and yachts. Like literally, there's a photo of Jeff Bezos. His yacht has 2 Starlink terminals installed. And then in a more like serious and heartfelt, maybe practical use case, he donated Starlink units or terminals to the Ukraine cause over there, so they can have internet while.
Also, remote. Oh,
Like
what
the government literally came to Elon like we need your technology to.
What
to
about
this.
the remote tribe in the Amazon that got Starlink and then they came back a year later and they were all addicted to online gambling and porn?
That is not real.
Yeah,
Is that
you can pull that up.
is
and
that
It's a
real?
real thing. Yeah,
Oh wow, okay. There
yeah.
you
They
go.
got Starlink and it just corrupted
Give
them.
the internet to primitive people, and
I guess
that
you give the
happens.
internet to humans and that stuff happens.
That's that played out evolution in
Yeah.
the span of a year. And so there we go. Oh, so addicted to
just addicted to
and
porn and social media, no gambling. Okay.
social- interesting. Wow,
You need money to gamble.
that's
yeah, true.
very interesting. By the way, I think he gave it to both Russia and Ukraine. I don't want to seem like it was one side or something. He was just offering it to anyone that needed it. I think. Don't quote me. You don't come here for facts. We talk about stuff and we think we're right. So that was Starlink. I thought I'd just bring that up.
So what do you think about like the new, I guess, frontier of that space travel and like where does SpaceX's actual business come from? Because right now it's the payloads into the whatever part of the atmosphere and then back down.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can do that without destroying a rocket means it's like a profitable
that was like
business.
that was like the innovation. Well, I think it can become a huge business. I think more so they're trying to take civilization onto new planets, and that's
And, well,
like
the interesting thing is like what makes money from that.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some plans. I don't know exactly what like the monetary aspect of SpaceX is. My immediate thing is like there is you could unearth some opportunities, and like pun intended, but like you can like maybe you can mine something on another planet. Maybe you can if you are the primary transport for humans getting to and from this planet to another one,
It's pretty cool.
that's a multi-trillion-dollar outcome. And so the main thing from my understanding of what they've been able to accomplish at SpaceX is they're making the rocketry or like the space travel a lot cheaper and sustainable and at the point where you can start commercializing it and doing things with it. Because right now, yeah, you're right. If every time you send a rocket off to space and it blows up, that's not sustainable. That's not cheap. That's very expensive.
I will give SpaceX kudos because of that like real shift in the dynamic of them building rockets back in the day that were heavily, I guess, bloated organizations funded by NASA or the government, where they actually weren't incentivized to do things quickly or efficiently. They just spent money.
SpaceX did what they were trying to do with, I'm just going to make up numbers, 1/10 of the time and 1/10 of the cost.
And an actual way of someone trying to run a business, like a real business, which I think is really cool. And even if SpaceX doesn't survive, they've made huge strides in that form. And that, it's like, it's all in the sci-fi movies, but at some point humans will be traveling between planets and someone's going to work out, like if Elon can do it so that we can really slowly get to Mars and not come back in our lifetime. It's like cool, but someone's going to work out how to do that faster and faster and cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, it's an extremely hard business to launch and run. So obviously kudos to, it's probably the hardest business to launch and run.
Science.
Literally like years and years of rockets blowing up that cost tens of millions of dollars. And then like the one out of like 50 that launches works out and gives you a little slither of hope, and you iterate on that. And it's been like a long, let's say, decade and a bit journey for them to get to where they are now. And
would you go on the Mars thing they were offering?
Yeah, I would.
That's cool.
Yeah. Or Virgin.
One-way trip?
Yeah, the one-way trip with like how many, like 30 people or something?
I think it costs, I know Virgin Galactic is offering that at $250,000 US.
No, I mean the one where you go and colonize
Virgin
Mars.
just goes to the edge of the atmosphere. You don't actually go to
Oh,
Mars.
SpaceX was offering something like this?
Yeah, so the SpaceX was saying
first trip to Mars, you're not
and you
coming
don't
back.
come back.
Yeah, if I had the money and I've lived my life.
It's free, I think.
Oh, it's free.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like you're fucking
I might
dying.
need
You're
a little
dying over there. Like you're an experiment.
Yeah.
If you make it.
Yeah, if you even make it.
Nah, I might let some other people do that first. And
SpaceX.
that's cool though, being like the first batch of people. Like that's something that is cool, but I don't really care about legacy too much. So that's like
SpaceX were kind of the first to commercialize this, freight company to space, and they stopped this monopoly. Like now there's competition, and they're saving the US government billions, literally billions of dollars.
That's
I saw a Reddit thing the other day about colonizing Mars, and it was like a prompt for a sci-fi story, and it was like, what happens if you're one of the 8 people that land on Mars and you're exploring, and in a cave it just says on the wall, they look like us.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Like,
yeah, so that's kudos to SpaceX, $210 billion, very, very large company. Going along the docket here, I thought this was pretty interesting. So Josh Kushner, who runs Thrive Capital, brother of Jared Kushner.
Lovely guy. Jared Kushner, lovely guy.
I actually do kind of like him.
I think he's a slumlord, right?
I don't know too much about his businesses. I know he's like affiliation with, he's married to Ivanka
like
Trump.
he's done horrible property things.
Sorry. Okay, when I say I kind of like him, I'm basing him off one interview I watched where he was like methodical, and he seemed like he was.
Oh, he seems smart, but I think he's got no conscience.
Yes, and I know their family money, right? Like grandfather type.
I don't know. He had involvement in Twitter, right?
I don't know. He may have like invested in X or something like that. But anyway, Josh Kushner, the other brother, maybe the younger brother, I think, who's married to Carly Kloss, like some model or something. He invested recently into and bought a big chunk of A24, the independent film studio that doesn't seem so independent anymore.
Big now.
A $3.5 billion. So I'm guessing they didn't disclose how much money he put in. He's joining the board of A24. Yes, I'm not. But if I had to guess,
he's probably got 10% or more, right?
Like a lot that he put in $200 million, maybe at minimum $100 million into A24 at a $3.5 billion valuation. They were worth $2 billion maybe a few years ago. And so just to give some perspective here, MGM, which is like what I'm pretty sure it's MGM, whatever studio, one of the largest films, not independent film blockbuster studio, was sold for $8.5 billion.
And that's fucking MGM.
And that's fucking MG.
Like,
you know
they've
the
got
fucking
Indiana
lion
Jones.
when you're
Yeah.
the lion that comes in the title screen. That's and the fact that A24 now is worth half of that, and they've had some like great films, but like
They haven't had a Toy Story, you know what I mean? They haven't had a Indiana Jones. They haven't
it's not
had a
like
Star Wars.
there's
They
no
haven't had
franchise that generates billions of dollars a year and all this stuff. And so the reason why I want to bring this up beyond just like mention the headline is that I actually do think I'm really bullish on film studios or like any creative incubator venture type thing as AI gets a bit more prominent. I think the barrier to entry to create great films, especially because of AI, is going to be extremely low. A lot of people will be able to create high quality films at a very low cost. I think a lot more creativity will actually come out of people now. They can't do a certain job, so they're going to have to do something a bit more creative and think of ideas. And they can use AI to generate ideas. I don't think that it's going to be a marriage between AI and humans to create art. It's never going to be just AI creating art. So I think that's also another thing. And then I also think with the rise of like streaming and easier ways, the barrier to entry to watch a piece of or consume content online is getting lower and lower, and the demand for that is getting higher and higher. People want more shows on Netflix. They want more movies on Disney. They want more blah, blah, blah. I think that the value of a great film or a great series is going to be increased a lot to the point where you could create a movie and it gets bid on by a Netflix, a Disney, Fox, or whatever, whoever the fuck, some streaming platform. These studios like an A24 would be very valuable if they're selling, 10 movies a year at 20 million a pop or whatever.
And
the
also
IP of the
you
movies.
could see it happening like
These, by the way, these streaming platforms need content. They need to differentiate. They need to convince you to keep your subscription to their platform and not churn off their one for the other platforms. And so to do that, they need more content. And so they're willing to spend the money and spend a lot of money.
AI generated movies. Like I think people will be able to see through it. It'll be like just some corny crap.
It feels completely AI. I think we're a long ways away from completely AI generated movies that people want to watch.
Yeah, if Disney and stuff are, pumping out horrific sequels of things and whatever, I think super creative places like A24 will be able to, like they've proven they can execute. Like Talk to Me got bought by A24. Yeah, and it was the biggest horror.
We
movie
work with Noah. Noah was
year.
executive producer of Talk to Me. Yeah.
And then they've had a banger movie every year at least.
Yeah, I think they have like a great film like every quarter or something like that. They're churning these out quite a bit. But to me, I see no reason why. I think it's actually pretty smart to invest in A24. I think they could be. Why couldn't they be like the next, some form of Disney or like IP brand that's worth 10, 20, 40 billion dollars? I think that
Iron Claw was a banger.
Yeah, Iron Claw was good.
Priscilla was really sad. Watched that one as well. But like you look at that, like recently, I was on a flight to New Zealand this week, and it was like Priscilla, Iron Claw, and then the A24 film. I was like, they're like 3 out of the 30 movies on that are available on there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I think these movie studios or like whatever content production studios, for lack of a better word, I'm very like, I hate saying bullish, but like bullish on these sort of content houses. And I think the next wave of billionaires are going to be like creative people that are starting these studios.
Mischief.
And it's going to be less like nerdy finance tech guys making billions of dollars. I think you're going to find a lot of people like the people starting A24 and other sort of studios that before it wasn't possible that you'd become a billionaire by starting an independent indie movie studio. And I think you're going to see many more of them very soon. So that was that. Amazon is releasing their own Temu. And we were talking about this a little bit before. What are your thoughts on that? Like, Temu is if you don't know, their tagline is "Shop like a billionaire" because they offer an app where you download it and you're inundated with like a bunch of very cheap items, knickknacks,
anything you can
think of that. It's very easy to binge shop where
Yeah.
it's like you add this to your cart for $2, you add this to your cart for
The stuff
$5.
is so cheap. You're like, I'll just get
I
that
bought
$2
I
iPhone
bought a
charger.
washing machine for like $13 off Temu. I never use it, but I thought it looked cute and like it would fit in my like apartment. But yeah, it's like shit. Like I've spent hundreds of dollars on Temu, shit that I don't use, just because like it's just easy. It's easy.
So I wonder why Amazon. I feel like Amazon maybe wants to expand their offering to that, like, because right now you can get some good value stuff on Amazon, but they're trying to do that really cheap stuff.
Amazon have built this behavior on their platform where I know people will just like add shit to their cart on Amazon. It's just that people do it a lot more when the items are so fucking cheap, like under $10 or whatever.
Like I got an Apple Watch strap for $4 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a smart thing to do. Now, I've actually been surprised that Temu, I'm pretty sure, is working out in the West. Usually, like concepts that work in the East, in Asia, don't really translate in Western markets. That's why, like, in Asia, you'll have super apps, whereas in Western markets, we have an Instagram and we have a TikTok. We split them up. We don't do payments on. We don't use TikTok as our
Like
credit card.
QR codes aren't that used in
it's just different culture.
So
Yeah. We have
food, but they use QR codes.
There'll be
for
one
everything.
app for literally ordering food, grabbing a taxi,
sending money.
Looking for rentals, like getting credit cards. And so, yes, I'm curious if Temu is doing well in places like Australia. I'm assuming it is because when I go on the App Store, Temu is like fucking in Australia. I feel like it's top 10,
at least become
top 5.
a topic of discussion.
Like people using it. And I think maybe some of the pressures of inflation have driven up that type of shopping for West. Like we're actually forced to adopt things like Temu because everything is so fucking expensive.
And the issue, I guess, with Temu is like the obvious things of like ethical labor, creating, I guess, needless consumption of like plastic and stuff that will like you buy it, it's not very good quality, so you end up just buying the good quality version of it after, and then you throw that one out, and it's like someone worked probably in bad labor conditions to make this thing, and then you threw it out after 2 uses because it was just like plastic and crap.
And so I don't know, I think so. Like last sort of thought on Amazon Temu, do you use Temu ever? I was going to ask if would you shop on Amazon or Temu for cheap things that you want quickly?
I just don't shop like that.
Okay.
Like Temu, I got a watch strap. Things I think that aren't like the Nike watch strap, I didn't think it was actually, the quality difference wasn't major. So I'm like, I'm not paying $70 for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can get a deal. Anything that I feel like it's going to be the same thing, like an iPhone cable, iPhone cases, cheap crap, I'll get off Temu.
Yeah. The only reason why I think they might do well offering this alternative is because Temu, I don't really trust their shipping.
Yeah.
Whereas Amazon, that's like their bread and butter. So if they can if I can do this binge shopping, which I don't do anymore, but I used to do it when I downloaded Temu just to try it out for research. But yeah, it took like a month to get my stuff. Amazon's pretty, like whenever I buy stuff on Amazon, it comes to my house like in 2 days. So yeah, maybe they might do well. We'll see how they go. And then just really quickly, we'll finish it off. There was like these college kids in the US. I don't want to talk about AI that much, but they dropped out of college and they raised $120 million. It's called Etched. They're taking on Nvidia. They claim that their chip is 10 times faster than Nvidia's chips.
Oh my God. Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, we should.
So let's quickly go to a fucking computer science degree.
I did it.
Mechatronic. What else would you need?
Electro. Anything in engineering.
So it's actually just computational engineering.
Yeah. Just anything sort of hard tech engineering. But yeah, here it is. Harvard Dropouts.
They love that headline, don't they? Harvard Dropouts.
So
fuck you.
I thought I'd just bring that up so you guys can, just in case they are the next fucking Nvidia, you guys heard it here first. You can remember us as like the
Imagine
place you
being
found
the
it.
punks that are actually graduating from Harvard.
Yeah.
Fools.
Yeah,
They're not-
idiots.
You want to make Facebook, you don't want to graduate, you idiot.
Poor.
And then, there's probably not much we can say there. The one thing I'll say before we hop off this topic is I've been aware of AI chip startups for a very long time, since 2016. That's when I first like researched about them and started investing in some. There was one called Brain Chip on the ASX. We talk about this. The number one thing I've learned from all these companies about deep tech, or like, these hard tech startups, is there's a lot of claims and there's a lot of research, but to get to commercialization and selling to a customer is fucking near impossible.
It's almost like a biotech.
Yeah, it's exactly like like you have to kind of hit gold and strike gold. And I think a lot of these companies that are raising a lot of this money is off the
like they'll burn that 120 in like a year.
They will need another 120 or so very soon, and they need to prove progress like a biotech company every single time to keep raising money. So it's very capital intensive. The claims are super crazy, and it's really, I guess, dependent on the scientific community or the research community to comment if what they're building is legit or not.
Yeah.
And that's going to take time, because they're going to take time to give out these chips. It's going to take a long time. But yeah, anyway, we're not the right experts for that, but I just want to bring that up just in case.
That's a bold claim.
It's
20 times faster and cheaper
than Nvidia's H100 GPUs, which is
sounds like
GPUs
they just said that to raise some money.
But who knows? We'll see. Good luck to them. That's cool that they're doing something really big and bold like that. All right, last thing is that there was this article I read about the crazy economics of the world's most coveted handbag, the Birkin bag.
Oh, yeah.
It costs $1,000 to make a Birkin bag.
Really?
And they sell them on average for $11,400.
I thought they'd cost less to make, honestly.
So 90% gross margin. But apparently they have Hermes has an issue. Customers who are deemed like to buy an Hermes bag, a Birkin bag, it needs to be like you can't actually buy one. You have to go through like an AD or something, not like a jewelry AD, but you know what I mean. Like you have to go through someone that you can prove that you have bought enough luxury stuff that you're a reliable customer and blah blah blah. But anyway, the people who do end up buying them end up flipping them immediately for 2 to 3 times the cost. And so that's an issue that they have, where Hermes isn't capturing that 2 to 3x markup. They're just getting, they make it for 1K, they sell it for 11, they pocket 10K.
So they want even more. They want 30.
But but these bags are selling for 30, 40 in the secondary markets. And so I don't know. I just thought maybe if you had any ideas on what Hermes can do to juice.
Well, because like when I used to resell sneakers, I remember like what Adidas did when like Yeezys first came out. First pairs would like resell for honestly like $2,500. Like they were crazy. The 700s or 350s, can't remember. And what Adidas basically did, because the number of pairs that are available are public, it usually gets leaked. And every time, instead of 50,000, they do 100,000, they do 200,000, and that meant that there was more supply, and it just reduced the price. Which is same with Birkin. Like if they want to capture that 22 grand extra, they just need to increase the supply. And the issue with that is then it does, I guess, saturate the brand value, because there'll be more people that might not be as desirable for the Hermes brand wearing it. And then that might mean the price goes below $11,000. So
I was thinking, why doesn't like an Hermes start their own StockX or marketplace website and then facilitate the secondary transactions and grab a fee for verifying? And
does Hermes just own Hermes? Like, it's not an LVMH brand?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it is an LVMH. Because
LVMH
brand.
do have multiple.
Do they own Farfetch?
They've got marketplaces and stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, that just makes sense to me. If they like just started their own marketplace, I would trust buying it's a private company.
The Dumas, yeah.
Oh, okay, it's not LVMH.
The Dumas.
But yeah, I just thought like maybe that's one way if you capture some value in the secondary market by taking a cut for facilitating verified, trustworthy sort of sales. Other than that, though, like there's not much. Yeah, like you mentioned, just let people buy more and dilute the aftermarket.
Stop being greedy. They're making $10,000 for a leather bag.
Yeah. 90% gross margins. That's a technology company.
Like, just sell more Hermes, you fucking idiots.
Hermes and Apple are not that much different. Apple is like a luxury brand now where like, yeah, they're a physical, they're a technology company, but they sell physical goods, but at a huge, insane markup. And that's their moat. The moat is like their brand, right? And they're like the luxury item of
Just a
you have
social
an
thing of
It's
like
a
even
social,
having
yeah.
an Android is it's like
It's so honestly, Birkin bags and iPhones are pretty similar. That might be wearing off recently, but it definitely used to be like a status thing to have an iPhone and make fun of the poor person that has an Android.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, have to run off to a meeting now.
Meeting time.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.